Hello to you there and welcome to Sport Views, and my name is Sachin Ramsubag. We're going to be discussing everything as it pertains to sport, and we are coming to you from the National Aquatic Centre in Couva, Trinidad and Tobago. Wonderful views, such a marvellous place to host such a show. Alongside me is former Minister of Sport and now Director of the Sport TT, Miss Marylin Gordon. Miss Gordon, thank you very much for sparing some time with us today as we discuss everything sport.
My pleasure, Sachin.
We're going to jump right into the discussion, and we were chatting a bit about you being a sport minister and your journey, how you got to that position. Tell us a bit about your journey from sport minister to now a director.
I'm thinking because I wouldn't mind going back to how I got to be the sports minister.
Please do. Please
yeah?
do. Yeah.
At age 12, I had a nervous breakdown 2 weeks before exhibition. College exhibition, and I was taken to the doctor, and he said, "You are not to read anything from now until the exam, and you will write the exam." And I said, "But I will fail." In those days, that was the only way I could get to high school. And he said, "No, if you fail, I'll pay for you to go to high school, but you won't fail. I want you to go and play." So I played. I like to play. So I played and played and played. And I wrote the exam, and I passed. And when I went back to see him, he said to my mother, "I told you she was going to pass." And they put me out of the room, and they had an arrangement. And he gave my mother enough money to buy my uniform and my books. And a letter to the principal of Bishop Anstey saying, Marylin Bailey must play. So I had free rein to play. So I played every sport that the school offered. And I represented the school in various sports. So that by the time I got to fourth form, what is called fourth form, we called it Lower 5, I was selected to represent Trinidad in hockey. I was the youngest player on the team. And we went to Jamaica. So I played then, and I continued playing because the doctor said I have to play.
You have to play?
Yeah. And because I was playing whatever sport was going on, I was invited to compete in athletics. I was throwing things around. I like to throw things around. And I joined the Rangers Club. Well, Rangers recruited you and took you to play. So we would go all over the country for sports. And as a result of that, by 1960, I was selected to represent Trinidad in athletics. So I went to the West Indies Games and I won some medals. And then in 61, I played for Trinidad again in hockey, in the Oval, where the Trinidadians didn't support us, huh? They supported Guyana. But that is the history of Trinidad supporters in this country.
So
right?
Trinis were bandwagoners since then?
Yeah, they supported Guyana. We beat Guyana though, so it was all right.
I'm sure the support increased after that.
Not necessarily, it depends. And then in 62, I went back to Jamaica with the athletics team. I was made captain of the women's team, and I missed a medal by a half inch. It hurts me still today. But then after that, I applied for a scholarship. But when I went to the scholarship interview, A&R Robinson was interviewing, and he said to me, "How come you didn't play for Trinidad in 62? And I said, "Well, yes, I did, but when I applied, we hadn't gone to the games yet." So I got a scholarship and I went away. And I played. So I played for my university in sports. I got blues for everything, that's the thing. And then I represented the universities on the boards. So I started learning about sport administration. I came back and I continued playing. But I went to teach. And I had a scholarship to teach. And then in teaching, I I wanted to stay in England. I'd been given a scholarship to stay, to do a new course that they were doing, which was physical education and education. So you would get a diploma of education with emphasis on physical education. And some Trinidadian down here said, no, we needed to come back and teach geography. So I came back. And then when I went to the school, I went to St. George's College, the principal says, Miss, I want you to see about the netball team. So I was back in sport again. And I continued to play, but I didn't play at national level after that. And then in 1976, I was minding my business at the Hazley Crawford coming back with his gold. And I was pulled aside by a gentleman who said, we want you to come into politics, you know. I said, you gotta be crazy, man. And I go on my way. And he turned up at my house and said, but Marylin, Dr. Williams asked us to look for young professional women. And you fit the bill. I said, I don't. But he and my husband had a discussion. So I ended up going to be interviewed and going into politics as a senator. At that time, I was made a parliamentary secretary in education and sport, for education and sport in the Ministry of Education. So I was back in sport again. And we had, that was 76, and we had the tournament in 79, the World Netball Tournament in 79. And I had been in Jamaica in 71 when we won the tournament. So I knew we had to. So my first question to Lister Lewis was, what is happening about the tournament? She said, oh God, girl, I'm glad you reached. I'm trying to get them to build the facility. They ain't taking me on. I said, but she said, and I talked to Dr. Williams, and he says, yes, they will do it, but I need somebody to drive it.
That's where you came in?
That's where I came in. So we got the GPA complex. That was lovely. I remember the press at the time being very skeptical, and one particular gentleman, who is now dead, so I won't call his name, told me, well, you're always talking, all the politicians are always talking, and if you build our facility, I will eat my hat. And I laughed. Because when I was telling them that we were going to start this facility, we had already started the facility. So I took them down to see the facility. And then the first day that I was taking press back to the Gym-Bear complex, what was then eventually named the Gym-Bear complex, I gave him a hard hat to eat. And everybody said, God, you don't forgive us. I said, nope.
Did you give him it with ketchup and pepper?
No, I didn't have any of that. So I was doing sport. Everybody knew Marylin Bailey as a sports person. So that halfway into that term, I was promoted to the cabinet, the minister. But I still did sport over at the Ministry of Finance. And then, remember Dr. Williams died in 1981, and we had an election. And I was driving around with then the new Prime Minister, George Chambers, and showing him all the facilities we have and how all we needed to do was to spend $30,000 to put lights on it, and the community would be able to use the facility, and they would take care of the facility because they were using it. And I'm there rambling happily and showing them, because I travel around the country a lot, so I could tell them when we come through the forest that when you come out of the forest, you're going to see the Rio Claro Junior Secondary School. And then I went to fight an election, I won the election, and I'm called on the President's house and I'm given an instrument of appointment. Ministry of Sport, Culture and Youth Affairs. I almost died, because I'm thinking, this ministry is critical. And you're not going to have any time to yourself. Which was true. I didn't have any time to myself. But I had the opportunity to start the Ministry of Sport as an organization. I had our challenges. But we were able to open, say, the Hazley Crawford, what was now the Hazley Crawford Stadium, and to embark on programs around the country. Not only to build facilities, but we had community coaching programs. And we found in those days, people didn't, demand that you have a certificate to say you could coach, right? You were in the field, had a team, you were coaching the team, and you were getting results. So you became a community coach, paid by the ministry, and we got programs developed.
Since then to now, we're talking 1970s, 1980s, to now the 2000, we're into 2021, moving forward. How has sport evolved? You've seen sport evolve. You've been part of the development of sport in Trinidad. You've been one of the foundation members, if you want to say that way. How has sport developed and evolved from then till now?
I think that athletes are in a much better position. They don't appreciate it. And I'll tell you why I say that. The first time I represented Trinidad in hockey, I bought my own uniform, right? I didn't have to pay my way to get there, right? And I had to find my own spending money. 2 years later, when I go to athletics, they provide a uniform and they give you a $5 a day stipend, right?
$5 a day.
Yes, that was a lot of money. That was a lot of money, right? As a teacher in secondary school with A levels, the equivalent of A levels, I was working for $180 a month. So $5 a day is a lot of money. But they gave you, in hockey you didn't get anything. Nowadays, and the world wasn't open to you. You didn't have the opportunity to make sport a career. You did PE in school, you didn't do real PE, you did games in school.
It wasn't any real structure, science behind it.
No, you did games. Nowadays, on the CXC syllabus, there's physical education as a subject.
Oh yes.
And young people who are good at what they do can aspire to a career in sport.
Oh, yeah.
A well-paid career if they do it well. We didn't have those kinds of options.
And it can go both ways, right? Both as an athlete and as an administrator as well.
Yeah, you can, right? There's much more emphasis placed on sports administration. I remember my late ex-husband was a reporter. And we used to laugh because whenever he went on tour with the team, he would sleep in one of the officials' bed because they ain't gonna be there. Think about that.
Wow.
Nowadays we have more officials that are trained, that understand what we're doing. I don't think we're at the stage where we have to be. Let's get that straight. I don't think so. But at least we are training officials. We are, say in Sportt, we are doing things to help organizations streamline their efforts, have proper accounts. You can't get money from the government if you do account for it. Yeah? But we're giving you the wherewithal, we're giving you money, but we're also giving you the wherewithal to do what you have to do. And look at all the facilities we have, all over the place. You know, Trinidad has more sports facilities per square mile than most countries in the world. And we still complain that you don't have a facility to go and train in. Oh, come on. Yeah? I don't think we appreciate how much we have in Trinidad in terms of Trinidad and Tobago. You know, the Tobagonians are slightly different.
Do you think it's right for some athletes and officials alike as well to compare themselves to other countries or what we call quote-unquote powerhouse countries in various sports? Do you think it's right for them to compare themselves to those countries? Because let's be real. They recently concluded Olympics in Tokyo. You had persons carrying a towel for an athlete. You had the coach, you had the manager, you had the physiotherapist, all for just one athlete. And this is from the powerhouse countries. So when our athletes go across there and they see all these fancy things, if you want to call it that way, taking place, do you think it's right for our athletes to compare themselves to the other powerhouse nations?
You're going to compete against them, right? So you have to be as good as or better than them. But you see, when we compare, we don't look at what the athlete in the powerhouse country has to do to get those facilities. Yeah, we skim over that. We forget about that, right? We don't see that a coach in a football team loses 2 or 3 matches and he gets fired. We don't compare that. Yeah, we compare the footballer who breaches his curfew, loses his week's pay. Yeah? If you want to compare, we must compare like with like. Don't just tell me that they get more money than you. Tell me what they do for that money that they're getting. And if you're prepared to do that, and if you're prepared to stand the consequences of not doing what you're supposed to do.
And that leads to my next question about sporting ecosystems. It's a new or modern term, as we may want to brand it as, and this new modern term of sporting ecosystem comprises of various parts. You mentioned a few of those, from administrators to athletes. There are also other parts to the sporting ecosystem. How does the Sportt come in here to build this sporting ecosystem and make it a sustainable one for Trinidad moving forward?
Well, we have some basic stuff available to us, right? We have 2 universities that are churning out technicians, all the people that we need.
Indeed, yeah.
Right? The next step is for us to employ those people. In Sportt, we're employing some of them. If you go to the gym in Hazeley Crawford, not in the best shape, but the people who are there are highly trained. Yeah? So people who come out of the universities can get jobs in Trinidad. Unfortunately for us, because they are so well trained, guess what happens? They get offers of jobs outside for US dollars. And half of them, will they take a job? Yeah? So we need to be a little bit more concerned about what we're doing. We need the population to understand what is the role of sport in the country. The aficionados understand. We crazy. Our fans, real fans, are better than they know the sport, they know everything, right? But you need wider acceptance and participation from the fans and from the young people, right? Because we will only continue to build great teams if we start building at the lowest level, and that is one of the areas that we in Sportt are emphasizing now. We're asking, as part of your coming to us, because you need to get money for some things, what is your development program, right? In 1981, part of the package was we would pay all the expenses for coaching. Yeah. Never mind, a man brought a bill for $1,000 for ice. You remember?
Well, maybe it's a lot of ice.
Yeah, he didn't have any. I went to check. I was a nasty minister, you know what I mean? So I went to check, and there are no ice, there are no cooler.
No, well, you must be complimented, because I think accountability is of utmost priority when it comes to sport in Trinidad, and not just sport in Trinidad, but everything in Trinidad and Tobago,
Yeah.
but more so sport, because sport has come under the microscope for quite some time, and it will continue to be under the microscope, as you would know.
Of course, it don't have to be, especially because people don't generally accept that sport is integral, important. Yeah, if you're sports, yeah. If you're into culture, yes. But if you're outside that, there are people just playing, they want you to come and play for nothing, you know, the kind of thing. So we need to spend more time, and Kevin is working with me on this, in involving the population, getting them to understand what Sportt does. I was surprised when I went to the Sportt on the board at some of the things that Sportt was doing. And if I'm a follower of sport, if I am surprised, you can imagine John Doe outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, do you think the NGBs they have enough tools to get these athletes and as you mentioned, new persons involved in the sport? Do you think the NGBs have enough tools and, of course, financing for these projects?
Well, the NGBs need to understand certain things, right? As I said, the government of Trinidad and Tobago has provided more facilities in this country than the average places, okay? But besides that, the government also invests some money in sports. But you notice that when we win at the Olympics or whatever, who are the people we see coming forward to wave flags on private sector? Yeah? Now, there are some private sector companies who are spending and devoting time, and not only time, management skills, helping with your management, which is critical as far as I'm concerned, right? I don't want you to just come and give me money.
And that's critical for the development of the ecosystem as well.
Yeah, exactly. So we're on a drive now in Sportt to engage the private sector more. Yeah? The state has taken a position where they're giving you a tax break for supporting sport. Yeah? But I don't think many people taking advantage of that.
In your years being an administrator and overseeing various sporting aspects in our country, do you think that the NGBs have evolved as much as sport has evolved over the last 10 or 15 years?
In some ways. In some ways, I have noted, for example, a lot of women now becoming presidents, and I smile.
You smile from ear to ear.
Of course. Especially, and it's not because they're women, especially though because the people that come forward to do that basically are concerned about the sport, about the athletes, about developing. Yeah? They're not so concerned about whether they make a trip or not. Yeah? But when they make a trip, they work. Yeah? They understand that you're going to have to interact with the national or the international organizations and so on and so forth. And so I'm happy to see that happening. I'm happy to see more organizations looking at the international bodies and to see how they can benefit. Yeah? How we can have synergies. I mean, right now we're talking to various international organizations about making Trinidad a center of excellence for that sport, for this area. We're well on our way, right? We have agreements, and very soon you'll hear the public announcements of how far we've reached. Yeah? Because these facilities here, they cost a lot to maintain and so on. Yeah? And if we want to keep them running, we've got to find a way to monetize them.
And make it self-sufficient.
That's the point.
Which goes to my next point. Do you think, and it's coming off your point that you made about women being involved and not coming to the fore to lead, do you think we have enough women involved in sport in Trinidad?
I don't know. I suppose.
Is there ever enough?
That's the point. But and I don't see them as being women and therefore they have to get special treatment. Let me get this straight. I am not into the feminist movement and all the movements and all that, right? I am about good performance, right? And whether you're a man or woman, if you're doing well, you're doing well. Yeah? And I'm not going to excuse you because you're a woman. That's not in my book. Because I hold myself to that standard. I will do it as well as anybody else, or I won't bother to do it.
Someone who has been involved in all aspects of sport, and as a female, do you think currently females have a stigma attached to them if they become involved in sport as being someone of a lesser quality?
No, I'm not sure. I don't know. I really don't pay attention to that because women still are at a disadvantage in this country, in the country, in the world, if they're really good at what they do. Yeah? you're held to a higher standard. My position is, if I have to do something, I always have to do it better than a man to be recognized. The same man. Yeah? So a lot of the women who come forward with that attitude. We're better than them, so we have to be better than them to get recognized, so we will do that.
If you just joined us, we're talking to Director of Sport TT, Miss Marylin Gordon, and we're talking everything sport. We're talking about women in sport, sporting ecosystems, and everything that it goes with sport and Sport TT. They're doing a lot of work in developing NGBs and everything else as it pertains to sport as well. Women involved in sport, Miss Gordon, it's a very integral role now that we are seeing women developing all various aspects of life, not just sport.
Right.
And do you see women becoming more involved in sport in the very near future?
Yeah. The young women that you have around now, yeah, there are no barriers for them. They don't have to fight the battles I had to fight as a female in sport. Yeah? It's open. What we need to do is to encourage them to be the best that they can be. And to give back, because everybody wants, everybody knows what they want. How many people are prepared to give back and not seek tremendous amounts of money and so on and so forth, right? But yes, I think, and I'm just reading a report of the cycling president who went off to Belgium to meet with the international organization. When that becomes public, you'll smile. We could.
and just to finish off on that point, for the women looking on, or the young girls looking on, who would love to become involved in sport, what advice do you have for the women coming up? How can they go about, how can they approach? You're one of the trailblazers of sport in Trinidad.
I do a lot of mentoring. Lots of people come to me. There are lots of people who are prepared to do that. A lot of the organization, if you look at the Ministry of Sport, the Minister of Sport has a program for girls and women. Yeah, she has been emphasizing that. We had a program on the golf club in Chagaramas for girls. Yeah. If you are going to let girls take part, then we'll fund you, kind of story. So we are making it easier for the young girls to get involved, right? What we have to do is to get into their minds and get them to understand that sport is very rewarding activity, but you have to be dedicated. It's as simple as that. If they have that attitude, the world is an oyster. And they can decide what size of pool they want to be in that oyster.
I like that. What size of pool?
Yeah.
Well, you're a pool yourself. You've shone among all the challenges in the 1970s and 80s, and now you're giving back in some way or the other. That's amazing.
I'm giving back. I have to give back. This country has been good to me. And I frown on people who take and don't give back. So I have to lead the way.
As a member of Sport TT, and we're going back to the sporting ecosystem discussion, should the ecosystem be focused on the athlete or the business of sport?
Yeah. Both. We in Trinidad have to wake up to the fact that sport is now an industry. It's a business. Yeah? And it can provide jobs, can provide revenue, like many other areas, just as the culture people are doing, right? We in sport have to understand that. And we have to press on, because we are ahead of the game in sport. When you compare us with anybody else, we are ahead of the game. We have the facilities. We have to find a way to maintain these facilities. It's expensive. We have to find a group of people who are prepared, if they work in these facilities, to make sure that they know what they're doing and they will keep the facilities running. Yeah? I have my own regrets about some of the facilities, but I'm dealing with that. I am not going to sit down and let people get away with nonsense.
We're sitting behind a beautiful facility. It's well maintained.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think we can make it self-sufficient?
Yeah. There are people in this world who have been coming to Trinidad to use our sporting facilities. We have a team in the Ministry of Sport going out to engage people to get them to come here. When Erin Hartwell was here as the cycling coach, cycling technical director, hired by the Sportt team, right? We had teams coming from around the world to train here under his tutelage, yeah? And then we had the unfortunate activities of the federation. And what we have to do is to get people to understand this industry that we call sport. I mean, Brian Lewis and the IOC is talking about it, and then the TTOC, they're talking about it, we're talking about it. We have to get people to understand that you hire people to do a job, and you pay them, and you expect them to do the job. Yeah? So we don't get place. I would like us to go faster. That's me.
Yes.
Because I am a little bit too old. Don't look it, but you know, as I tell my son from time to time, I'm in the waving gallery. So I have to do as much as I can now before I exit. But the potential for making money from sport for the country is there, right? Once our administrators understand their function in all of this, and we're trying to train them.
And where do you see Sportt TT in this entire ecosystem? Because we're talking about a huge load to be pulled here. Can Sportt TT pull this entire load by themselves?
Well, no, we don't have to pull it by ourselves. You have Sportt TT, you have the Ministry of Sport and, well, now Community Development, right? We have in the makings extensions to sport, the Sportt TT, yeah? Rationalizing the system so that we can make the best use of these facilities and of the industry. Yeah? So it's everybody. It's the Ministry of Finance, it's the Ministry of Community Development, it is the Ministry, because the Community Development doing coaching programs, right? It is the Ministry of Social Development. It's all over.
Should Sportt TT be at the helm, or should they be in the middle, being that mediator and ensuring that everything goes well? Because you're talking about so many different NGBs here. The Ministry of Sport is another facet of it. Also, you have many other different aspects and many other moving parts. Is Sportt TT the well-oiled unit at the middle of everything, holding it together, or should it be at the top?
I'm not sure we should be at the top. I'm not sure where we should be, but I'm sure it's what we should be doing. And that is making sure that all the players involved understand their functions and we facilitate what has to happen. Yeah, we can do that in some ways much easier than the Ministry of Sport. Yeah, but in some ways there are some things the Ministry of Sport can do better than us. So it is just a matter of sharing and understanding. And the one thing that gives me a lot of comfort is that this Sportt TT board membership understand what we have to do and how we have to get it done, and everybody has their head down, and we're going to get it done.
At the beginning of our conversation, you mentioned about the Jean Pierre facility. I know for a fact it's currently undergoing some renovation works. You're probably very happy about that.
Yes. In fact, I was making the point this weekend. I went there and I was upset. I'm not fooling, I was upset. The Jean Pierre netball facility was the first facility built exclusive for netball in the world. In the world. When the Australians and the British and the New Zealanders came and we took them to the facility, they stood up with their mouths open and they said, wow. And that was one of the reasons why we were able to come out joint champions. That was one of the reasons. Because we had a custom built facility And we had people on that facility, despite the contractor. We had to get rid of one of the contractors early enough so they knew the surface. Yeah? But Mr. Lewis had done a fantastic job in training and bringing people through the system to come to the place. So we have to preserve the Jean Pierre complex. I'm prepared to go to war on that one. It was the first.
Now that the various facilities, we were talking about new facilities like this one we're in right now, the Jean Pierre being renovated. You spoke about persons manning these facilities. We're not talking security personnel or maintenance personnel here. We're talking about trainers, persons involved in training the athletes, coaches, physiotherapists, massage therapists as well. We have a batch of individuals coming out from Trinidad. Do you think we need to continue looking outwards for that experience, or should we remain local?
No, you need a mix, because you need to learn from other people's experiences as well. Yeah? But we need our people to step up to the plate. So that if it means that you go out for 6 months or whatever, to see what is happening outside, so that you don't get blindsided. Yeah? I mean, in sport, a coach will send somebody to look at the other team practicing, and take pictures and come back. We have to do the same thing.
I like how you make that analogy, because we kind of overlook that. We tend to pinhole ourselves into belief that everything foreign is good. But I like how you make the adjustment that persons outside, getting the outside experience as well, is also important.
Because you see, we don't recognize how good some of our people are.
Absolutely.
We don't. And we don't. We have people who have left here and gone outside, and they're treated like goddesses or kings,
Oh yes.
because they're so good at what they do. And we do it as a matter of course. Some of the things that I do, and people say, but how? That's how it is. Yeah? You take it for granted, and people take you for granted. Yeah? So we have a lot of evolving to do. But as far as I'm concerned, we're in a good place. We're in a good place. And you see our Minister of Sports? Wow.
And you're smiling from ear to ear again.
Yes. Not only because she's a young woman.
Yes.
She's a young politician who does not deal with nonsense. I mean, I remember sitting in a meeting with her and grinning from ear to ear because some fellows were trying to pull some wool over her eyes. And I thought, good luck for all you. That didn't succeed.
Well, you have a knack for spotting visionary people, because you belong to a visionary era. And then you've evolved now to this one. So you have a knack for spotting these visionaries. So I'm not surprised.
I was trained by the best.
Indeed.
I was trained by the best. I say, every morning I say, thank God that we had an Eric Williams in this country and a George Chambers. We have other people coming in, right? But I'm talking about, you see that foundation that was laid, yeah? That we'd be still building on. We can't go wrong if we follow the protocols.
Ms. Gordon, we can speak all day about various things, but before we wrap it up, I really need to get your point of view on the pandemic situation. It's very detrimental to us all here in Trinidad and Tobago and the world, but as a matter of fact, as it pertains to sport, it's hard to tell where we may see ourselves in 1 year's time. But if we continue living and operating under this pandemic situation, do you see sport continuing the way that it has been pre-pandemic in the next year?
Yes. People will adjust. Yeah? Sports people know how to adjust. Of course, you will have, when they opened up a sport for the first time, and people just went stupid. Yeah, you finish your game, yes, you want to talk to your partners and so on, but you don't want to go and drink and get drunk and mess up the place. Yeah? You want to take your drink, you want to fraternize and so on and so forth, but wear your mask now. Do the simple things. Yeah? And I think once we get, because we know, in fact last week I think I was talking to Jason, the CEO, and say, are we negotiating with the Ministry of Health? We are sitting with the Ministry of Health as we speak to work out how we will bring the sports back into operation and what people will have to do. Yeah? So we're going to have to make some changes. Come on, people. People dying all over the place. We have to make some changes. But the pandemic gives us the opportunity to make a lot of those changes that we should make anyhow and get ahead again.
If we were to be released from these quote-unquote pandemic rules or the protocols as we currently know it as, do you see sport in Trinidad flourishing out of all its glory in the next year or two?
It'll take a little while because we as I said, we don't have some of the foundation in place. And what I am asking people to do now is get your foundations in place. The national sporting organizations, we've worked with them, we've been working with them for them to put certain things in place so that when we come back, we're ready to go. So it gives us an opportunity to review, reflect, and improve. I think in Trinidad and Tobago, we are capable of doing that.
Downtime is not always bad time, right?
No. Downtime is good time. The amount of things I've done in this downtime, you won't believe.
Well, some of the things that you could have probably never done before. You're doing it in the last year or two, right?
Yeah.
A bit on a lighter note as we come very close to the end of the show, and you mentioned to me before we began this interview that you used to be at the Oval many years ago, going and being part of the entire fanfare and everything to go with it. The ICC Under-19 Cricket World Cup is coming to the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago as well. Do you see this as a perfect opportunity for the start of great things to come for sport tourism?
Well, it is part of it. It is not the start. It's the continuation. Remember, the ICC cricket, it was the T20.
The T20, yes.
Was started in Trinidad.
Well, back then it would have been the 50 over World Cup. Yes.
At the beginning of the pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah. We showed the world how to do it.
Yeah.
And we forget about that again. Yeah. We showed the world how to do it. So we need to go back and do what we do best, without making a certain noise, right? But prepare. I mean, I know it was Douglas Camacho and Kyron Sherrett from our organization were instrumental in getting this thing organized. Yeah? They're still at it. They're still doing what has to be done. We are still doing what we have to do. And we are asking the people of Trinidad and Tobago to do what you have to do now. And wear your mask and stop being stupid. And get vaccinated.
Indeed. You're making the points from a personal perspective as well, because you know the benefit of it.
But of course, I am where I am, and I have been through life and had a nice life because of sport, basically. That's why I told you I had to go back to the beginning.
Yes. So
you could understand what my journey was. Yeah? Having understood that, you understand why I continue to be passionate about sport.
Sport, is it safe to say that sport followed you and you did not follow sport?
Probably. I don't know. But it's been a good journey.
Oh, it's been a great conversation as well.
Yeah.
It's been a really nice conversation. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Nice to have you on the show. But before we wrap it up, I just want to end on a very lighter note. Do you still play hockey?
No. I stopped playing hockey a long time
shucks.
ago. I stopped the hockey ball with my, I damaged my spleen.
Oh my.
Before I went away. And but I played. I continued to play. But I don't play hockey anymore. I play golf.
Very nice. Director Gordon, I really want to thank you for being part of this entire show, and thank you for sharing some conversations with me and also educating myself and the viewers at home as well for being part of this entire show. And I wish you on Sport TT all the very best.
Well, I thank you for the opportunity. What I have discovered within recent times is that a lot of people don't know a lot of things, and they talk all the time. And I'm always happy to share information if it will enlighten people and help us all to go in one direction to the improvement of our sports.
Ms. Gordon, thank you very much. I wish I can shake your hand, but this is the best we can do these days. Folks, that's it. That's a wrap. And on behalf of the entire production team, I'm Sachin Ramsubag. Thanks for watching. Until next time, bye for now.